we have been able to get our stream up and running. So welcome to everyone who is able to tune in through YouTube. If you want to be able to watch the race back or maybe share the race with any of your friends or family who weren't able to make it trackside to watch the action, it is on YouTube. And the title of the stream is Daytona Milton Keynes Battle of the Ages live broadcast. So you should be able to find it there with a nice camera that looks out from this wonderful VIP box out to the circuit. And there's some timings as well on the screen, so you can stay up to date with some of the lap times. No matter where you are on circuit, we can actually see the lap times and the best time of all 13 karts out on circuit. So I'll just run through the teams that we have and all of the drivers participating in that team. Apologies if I do get any names wrong. So we have fast and slow racing, which is Rob Thompson and Murphy Thompson. Team King, Rory James King and James King. Hold my beer, this ain't my first rodeo. Ellis Owens, Steve Owens and Ryan Ambery. Then we've got House of Go Karting, which is Ben, Freddie and Max House of Go. M4's Finest, Dan Miller, Harrison Brooks, Gabriel Jones and Rory Jones. Slater Racing, which is Mark Slater, Matthew Slater and Anthony Slater. The 8Ws, Cooper West and Brian West. Maybe my counting's wrong, but I only count 2 Ws there, so something's happening. Then we've got Money Racing, which is Louis Bishop and Nigel Bishop. OTM Racing, Omar Matthew and Trevor Matthew. Team Clark, Richard Clark, Teresa Clark and Guglielmo Clark. Guglielmo Clark. I'm Italian, I should know how to do this. But anyway, it's early in the morning. I'll figure it out eventually. And in first place is Tom Smith and Ronnie Smith, who I would just like to clarify, not in first place right now. Where are they currently running? They're currently running in third, so they are close to first place, 8/10 off first place. We've got Walker Boys, which is Jake Walker, James Walker, and Ethan Walker. And then we've got the Wilcox, which is Ben Wilcock and Nia Wilcock. Now, in terms of the drivers that I recognise, Murphy Thompson, very quick driver, races in the in-kart championship, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember if he's jumped up to Junior Sprint League now. James King, very quick driver, races in the Adult Super Champs. Ellis Owens, of course, as well, another in-kart driver. Who else do we have? Cooper West and Louis Bishop, both of whom race in the Junior Sprint League. Something else to remember as well for this endurance race is the fact that because you've got a mix of adults and juniors, for some you have juniors who will be very quick. I'm looking at the likes of Ellis Owens, Louis Bishop, Murphy Thompson and Cooper West. But then in other teams, you'll have adults who are fast. I'm looking at James King in this particular instance. So you'll have qualifying where presumably all teams will have their fastest drivers out. But I have a feeling this race isn't going to be determined by which team has the quickest driver. I think it's going to be determined by which team has the least slow driver. Good morning to James Brown on the YouTube chat. Any regulars on circuit? Yes, your fellow teammate James King is racing today. Paired with Rory James King in Team King. How are Team King currently doing in the standings? They're currently down in P11, a best lap time of a 1:24.0. I have a sneaky suspicion that James King himself hasn't yet been in the kart. And of course we have a few of our in-kart juniors and our Junior Sprint League drivers also participating today. The sun is starting to break out through the clouds, so maybe that rain that I foreshadowed or tempted won't quite arrive on circuit today. We've seen improvements from, and in first place, the 8Ws, OTM Racing and Fast and Slows still on those 1:20.2s, very close to breaking into the 1:19. Slater Racing also improving with a 1:20.3. In fact, he is incredibly close from third all the way down to 8th, 6/10 of a second, separating 6 drivers, and in first place, the 8Ws, OTM Racing, Fast and Slow, Slater Racing, and M4's Finest. Is this quali or race? This is the practice session at the moment, and we have 12 minutes remaining of it. Just a quick message to our paddock. If all dog owners could just please make sure that their dogs are on leads. We need to make sure that dogs are on their leads at all times. Thank you. So, just to confirm that for this opening session, this practice session, this is a practice qualifying session. So the fastest times from this practice qualifying will determine the starting order for the race. Now, I have heard that Mr. James King himself is out on circuit, and Team King have just improved with a 1:22.1. So they have jumped up to P10 from, it was either P11 or P12 that they were in. Manny Racing, though, doing a very good job right now. Who is in that team? Louis Bishop and Nigel Bishop. So Louis Bishop has put in a very quick time for the squad, and they're currently 4/10 clear at the top because James King has just crossed the line and gone up to second for Team King. 4/10 off Louis Bishop's time for Manny Racing. Fast and Slow have also improved, a 1:18.6. 3/10 clear at the top of the times. Who is in Fast and Slow? Rob Thompson and Murphy Thompson. I'm going to hazard a guess that might be young Murphy Thompson at the wheel, putting in a very quick lap. Now we have just under a second separating the top 4. House of Go-Karting currently down in P4. And as I say that, they cross the line and put in a 1:18.1. So House of Go-Karting, which is Ben, Max, and Freddie House of Go, up to the top of the times. And those are 3 names that I don't actually recognise. And they are the quickest out on circuit. So very impressive from that trio of drivers. I'm still looking down towards 10th place. Hold my beer. This ain't my first rodeo when Ellis Owens jumps into the kart. In fact, he might already be in the kart. But I'm expecting some quick times from young Ellis. Very quick driver in the in-kart championship. Here is Ellis Owens making his way through turn 10 and then into 11, wearing his Mercedes race suit with that dark red and black helmet. He's going to make his way across the line. Improved on his last lap with a 1:20.5. Let's see this time round. Another improvement, a 1:20.0. So half a second quicker for Ellis Owens. And up into P8, 2/10 shy of the 8Ws, which is Cooper West and Brian West. And Ellis Owens and Cooper West have had many battles over their times at Daytona Milton Keynes. House of Go-Karting still at the top of the times with a 1:18.1, narrowly shy of improving. Fast and Slow also improving with a 1:18.2. Team King also improving with a 1:18.5. So 4/10 separating those top 3 karts. Improvement for OTM Racing down in 5th place, which is Omar Matthew and Trevor Matthew. Team Clark, Richard Clark, Teresa Clark, and Guglielmo Clark are currently down in P13 with a 1:24.1. Actually, just over a 10th shy of Walker Boy, so quite close in that battle for P12. But between the top 11, 2.4 seconds separating those 11 drivers. As there was an improvement by someone, the Wilcox, a 1:19.1. So up into P5 then for Ben and Nia Wilcock. And is it starting to get a little bit darker, more overcast here at Milton Keynes? I think it might, and I think there might be a bit of rain on the way. I know I said that before, and I am hoping that there is some rain because that would really spice up the action. So, for those people tuning in on YouTube, and I know James Brown has asked a question regarding minimum weight limit. There is no minimum weight limit for this race, which means that the juniors will have a slight edge over the adults in that regard. 20 to 30 kilos less can give you, well, sometimes even a second a lap. I know depending on the karts, depending on the circuit, that amount does change, but I think 0.3 per 10 kilos tends to be a reasonable ballpark figure to base things on. House to Go Karting, I think, did narrowly improve. 118.1, just 700ths shy of Fast and Slow Racing. Still that 1 second separating the top 4 karts. Just searching for any other improvements. Team Clark have improved with a 120.2. So up into P11, there you go. The 8Ws have improved as well, a 119.7. And just a reminder of our race format today, we have this 30-minute practice qualifying session followed by a 90-minute race. And while there are pit stops that will be done in the race, there aren't going to be any fuel stops, I've been informed. So we're going to be getting all of these karts fueled at the end of this practice qualifying session so that they can make it to the end of the race from the very start. Fast and Slow Racing getting very close to improving on their personal best and just shy of entering into the 117s. The 8Ws improving with the 119.7. And as I say that, 117.7474 House to Go Karting. So Ben, Freddie and Max House to Go at the very top of the times. Now we're seeing 7/10 separating the top 3 teams. 2.5 seconds actually separating the top 12. As there have been a few improvements, the 8Ws are 119.2. That sees them jump ahead of OTM Racing. Also an improvement for the Wilcox, a 118.678. Improvement for Team King as well, a 118.1. So 4/10 separating the top 3 and 9/10 separating the top of 4. It is very, very close. And as mentioned before, this is going to be a race, an event that's not going to be necessarily determined by who is the quickest driver on circuit. It's going to be determined by the damage limitation of the slower driver. And the reason for that is because we've got a lot of drivers who are very, very competent here at this circuit. They've put in a lot of laps. They've raced in many events and they are very, very quick. But a very quick driver relative to a quick driver, you're looking at maybe half a second. When someone is new to the circuit, you're looking at about 5-6 seconds a lap. So being able to limit the damage there is where a race will be won. Consistency, making sure you don't spin, are, well, two of the most important factors in an endurance race, and also being able to navigate the traffic. Even if a driver is quicker, if you're that little bit smarter at picking your points to lap back markers when you do eventually catch up to them, you can find, well, more than that half a second on particular laps. Improvement for Fast and Slow Racing, a 117.914. There are a few spits of water around the circuit, but that has not stopped a few of our teams from continuing to up the pace, including the Wilcox, who have put in a 1:18.659. So, very impressive time from the Wilcox, Ben and Nia Wilcock. And still those 9/10 separating the top 4 teams. Just looking for more improvements. Slater Racing, a 1:19.5, Team Clark a 1:19.6, and Hold My Beer with a 1:19.9 as well, as Ellis Owens puts in a 1:19.2, which takes his team up into 7th place. Actually, Ellis Owens has set an identical lap time to the 8W, so I'm guessing that's Cooper West who's put in that time. Cooper West and Ellis Owens evenly matched. Here is Cooper West, making his way out of turn 10 and heading into the final corner, turn 11, as we are getting our checkered flag out. That will greet Cooper West, and the 8W is actually not quite Cooper West. It's going to come out for the next set of karts, as Cooper just goes 4/10 shy of his personal best lap time. Improvement for Team King as well, a 1:18.0, but still 3/10 shy of the best time that we have had this session, as the checkered flag has indeed come out. And there is a yellow flag down towards, I believe that is turn 8. Oh, sorry, no, that is at turn 4 we have that yellow flag. Let's see then if we have any late improvements from our drivers. A 1:18.4 for the Wilcox, which brings them that a little bit closer to Team King, but still 4/10 down. Where else do we have improvements then? Walker boys have been able to get into the 1:13, so an impressive improvement from James, Jake and Ethan Walker. Ellis Owens crosses the line, a 1:19.267, so 400th shy of improving on his personal best lap time. Not seeing any other improvements on circuit. The Wilcox actually do improve, a 1:18.3, so they find another 10th, and just 6/10 shy of House to Go Karting, and only 6/10 separating the top 4 is very close indeed. Team Clark also improving with a 1:19.5, which is Richard Teresa and Guillermo Clark. And it is most certainly raining now out on circuit. And when you can see it from the VIP box, that's when you know it is proper rain and not just a little spit, which means that all of these drivers, they've just had half an hour of practice, or I should say the teams. The drivers have probably had about 10 minutes each. But that practice is all now worthless, because the start of the race is going to be very, very damp indeed. And it's going to be a completely new set of conditions, which means we're going to be seeing a lot of incidents out on circuit in those opening 2 laps. And again, this is where I would like to stress that this is where a race can very easily be lost. Binning it on the opening lap, trying to push too hard in these wet conditions. And this is where the top drivers, the team's aces, will really stand out in these tricky conditions. And I've mentioned before that if you have a very fast driver compared to a fast driver, maybe half a second a lap. In the wet conditions, between a very fast driver and a fast driver, you're looking at about 3 seconds a lap. And before I talked about the difference between, a quick driver and a driver who's never been on a race circuit before, it can be about 5 or 6 seconds a lap difference. Yeah. Attention paddock, attention paddock. If any drivers would not like to get wet, which I would assume is all of you, you can actually get a wetsuit from the pavilion. So if you have a toner suit and, you don't want to get soaked, head up to the pavilion, go get yourself a wetsuit, and then once you finish your race stint in these wet conditions, you won't be soaked to the bone. But going back to my previous point, if you have a quick driver compared to a driver who is new, maybe 5 or so seconds a lap difference. In the wet, that can be over 10 seconds a lap. So these wet conditions is where you want to get your quicker driver out, because that is where they can extract so much more time. So now that our practice qualifying session is over, we will be fueling up all of our karts for our 90-minute endurance race. Of which, if I recall correctly from driver's briefing, there are 3 mandatory stops. Which means that even if a team only has a couple of drivers, either they can keep on changing drivers, or they can do one of those dummy driver changes where they have to run around the kart really quickly and get a little bit dizzy. So all of our drivers are now out of their karts in the pit lane. These karts will get fueled up, and then we can get our race underway. So just a reminder then of your qualifying order. House of Go-Karting take pole with a 117.7, 1.5 tenths clear of fast and slow. Team King and the Wilcox will be on row 2. The top 4 separated by 6 tenths of a second. Money Racing with a 119.0, tantalizingly close to those 118s. The 8Ws will be starting alongside on row 3. Hold My Beer, this ain't my first rodeo in P7 ahead of OTM Racing. Slater Racing and Team Clark make up the top 10. Actually, just 600ths of a second between those two teams. And in first place are actually in 11th ahead of M4's Finest, with the Walker Boys completing the field. And in first place and M4's Finest actually separated by just 17 thousandths of a second. So a lot of close battles that we can expect to see out on circuit today. And I'm going to try my best to stay up to date with everyone's pit stops, just to, have an idea of where everyone will feed out and work everything out. The rain has stopped, so we had a little shower. Maybe the track is a tiny bit greasy. The rain didn't come for long, but there are still more big clouds over the circuit and over Milton Keynes, and maybe there's a little bit more water to fall over the course of the next hour or so. So most of our carts have been fueled up, and now, just to keep the drivers up to date on what's happening, we're going to start to get these carts out of pit lane and into the right order, or not out of pit lane, but just in the right order. So everyone can hop into their carts and they will be, ordered from first down to last. Alright, drivers, if we could please start having drivers getting themselves race ready and to the end of pit lane, and by that we are talking about the drivers who are starting the race for their respective teams. We can start to get you into your karts, and then we can get you out on track as quickly as possible and get this race underway, and then we can get you all home earlier, and maybe the quicker we start, the less rain you might get as well. Actually, by that logic, we should probably delay this race as much as possible so you can all get a nice soaking. So just a reminder then of our teams from first. We'll do the top 10 first. House of Go-Karting on pole ahead of Fast and Slow Racing. Then we have Team King and the Wilcox, with Manny Racing and the 8Ws completing your top 6. Hold My Beer, This Ain't My First Rodeo, and OTM Racing complete your top 8, with Slater Racing and Team Clark in 9th and 10th. And then we've got, and in first place, M4's Finest and Walker Boys. So, all of our carts have now been ordered, which means that we can start to get you guys into your carts. So again, if we can please make sure that all starting drivers are at the end of pit lane. When our marshals are ready, they will allow you into pit lane and into your carts. So our top 2 into their carts, House of Go-Karting and Fast and Slow Racing. which I'm guessing that is Murphy Thompson starting in second place. I'm seeing a few of the adults starting for their teams further down the field. Wouldn't it be cool if from first all the way to the end there was like a gentle age increase as the field goes on? That'd make for a nice statistic, I think. So still waiting for a few drivers to get to the end of pit lane so we can get you into your karts. About 5 drivers we are missing right now. We don't want to have to start the race without you. So I can see Ellis Owens getting ready. Quick, get your helmet on. And that also looks to be Cooper West, who is getting into his kart for the 8Ws, starting from P6. And that's either Ryan Ambery or Steve Owens, who will be starting for Hold My Beer. This ain't my first rodeo. Ellis, are you giving some final tips to your driver? I'd like to see that. Well, there hasn't been any more rain since our very, very brief 1 minute shower, our 1 minute spit that we had. So I think the track should be pretty much dry, but maybe in some places it'll be a little bit more damp. There are a few corners on the circuit, and I don't know if I should tell you guys this, because if I do, you might not spin, and that's going to be less entertaining for me up here in the commentary box. But turn 2 tends to get very slippery, so does the penultimate corner, turn 10, and sometimes the whole track can feel grippy, but you go into those 2 corners in particular, and you just get a huge, huge amount of understeer. Our karts, though, are being relinquished from pit lane, which means that we are just a couple of minutes away for our race start. Our battle of the ages, the young and the old. Oh, sorry, the young and the middle-aged. I think that's a more appropriate term. Or the young and the younger. But House of Go-Karting have looked very quick so far today. They've put it on pole, and I think their team depth is actually relatively good as well. I think Team King as well, right up there as well. But it'll be interesting to see how the dynamic of the race changes once the driver changes come in, and some of the faster drivers jump out of their karts, or maybe for other teams, some of their slower drivers head out of the karts and they get their faster drivers in. And we might have one of those cool situations where the leader's 30 seconds ahead, with the driver in second catching by a few seconds a lap with 10 minutes to go. That could give us a very nice spectacle, a nice dramatic end to the race. So our karts on this formation lap will make their way all the way around the final couple of corners and onto the start-finish straight. Just a quick reminder that we are live streaming this race. If you want to share the race with any of your friends or family who couldn't make it here to Daytona Milton Keynes to watch the action, then it is on YouTube, Daytona Milton Keynes Battle of the Ages on the Milky Serial YouTube channel. So we have started to grid up our first couple of drivers, 13 karts on the field. House of Go-Karting and Fast and Slow share the front row of the grid, and they were separated by just over a tenth of a second, 6/10 separating the top four at the end of qualifying. It was a very, very close affair, especially considering that there was a bit of rain towards the end of the session. And despite that little drizzle, the times continued to improve. Hand up for House of Go-Karting, which I'm guessing is the engine might have stopped. So probably needs that restarted. Okay, he just went a little bit too far forward. And doesn't want to be over the white line for the race start and possibly pick up a penalty. We are ready to go racing then for our Battle of the Ages. 90 minutes of karting about to get underway. Eyes then on the DigiFlag, on the red lights that have gone out, and it is not a great start for House of Go-Karting. Murphy Thompson trying to pull alongside straight away into turn one, has to tuck in behind, and now it is almost three abreast heading up into turn two, but House of Go-Karting hold on to the lead of the race, and Fast and Slow might even lose a position as well as Team King duking it out with them for P2, and I think Team King are now up into second place as the field head down the hill towards turn five, and it is indeed Team King who are up into second place. And is that Cooper West, who has had a phenomenal start? Cooper West up into third place for the 8Ws, so cracking start from young Cooper, but disaster for Fast and Slow Racing, who have dropped down into fourth place after starting this race in second place. The field go out of our view and head down the hill towards turn number 8. The hairpin, one of the slowest corners on the circuit, and one of the most important corners as well, because after you come out of that hairpin, it's an uphill drive all the way to turn 9, and still leading is House of Go-Karting, but Team King keeping them in check. They have pulled out a huge lead to third place in the space of half a lap. And where is Cooper West? Cooper West has disappeared. So Cooper West at the back of the field. He's had an incident down into turn 8. We've had a couple of spinners, and one of them is Fast and Slow Racing and Murphy Thompson. So Cooper West and Murphy Thompson were running in fourth and third respectively, and they have dropped all the way down to the back of the field. And this is what I was talking about, the opening lap of the race. You can't win the race, but you can lose it. And right now they've lost about 10 seconds or so to the leading duo. Team King right on the back of House of Go-Karting on the exit of turn 5 as Cooper West goes round the outside of turn 3 as he tries to catch back up to this train of karts. So Slater Racing is the team that the 8Ws just overtook. And you can see Murphy Thompson already gaining one position as he heads into the carousel of turn 6. And up the inside of another, he goes into turn 7. Another position gained for Murphy Thompson, but he hasn't even entered turn 8. And your leading two of House of Go-Karting and Team King are heading into that long left-hander of turn 9. Team King will just be looking just to sit in the wheel tracks of House of Go-Karting for now. I don't know if they want to make a move or just sit in the slipstream. Just put and apply a little bit of pressure. Oh, I saw a little puff of smoke, or was that maybe a puddle? But I think some brakes were locked up. Here's Murphy Thompson crossing the line. And Cooper West gaining a position. The Wilcox currently in third place. As Team King have got a good run coming out of turn 5. Can't quite pull alongside House of Go-Karting heading into that carousel, and I think this is a case of adult versus junior. So for Team King, just not quite getting the same drive, slightly heavier in the kart, and that's just impeding their ability to really go for a move. And when you are the heavier driver and you don't get that drive out of the corner, you have to do the move by sending it on the brakes. You have to be super brave, super committed to make a move work. Fast and Slow, Murphy Thompson up into P8. Whereas Cooper West for the 8Ws in P11 right now as they continue to climb up the field. Here is House of Go-Karting and Team King making their way through turn 10 and into the final corner. You can see House of Go-Karting with the neon green helmet and the black suit. And it is black suit, black helmet with a GoPro on top for Team King as they head through turn 1. Here is Murphy Thompson closing in, looking to gain another position. So the 8Ws were in P11 at the start of the previous lap. And they are now in P10 right behind Team Clark. A good run through the chicane for Cooper West. But he can't go up the inside into turn 4. Oh, sorry, not for Cooper West, for Murphy Thompson. We have a yellow flag out, so a spinner into the hairpin of turn 4. "24 seconds separating the entire field, but it is a big gap from second down to third. 8 seconds nearly between Team King and the Wilcox. As here come your leading two into turn 9. The 8Ws have been able to find a way through on Team Clark, which is Richard Teresa and Guglielmo Clark. As Cooper West looking to make a move of his own. So the 8Ws up into P8, fast and slow up to P5. Fast lap of the race, 1:17.7 for both House of Go-Karting and Team King. And only 12 thousandths of a second separating their fastest laps. As fast as slow racing, now on the back of and in first place, which is Tom and Ronnie Smith. Bit of a lonely race as well for the Wilcox at the moment. Ben and Nia Wilcock. As there goes fast and slow up the inside of first place. Not actually first place though. I'm sorry, I have to mention that all the time. That's the mistake that you made by picking that team name. The 8Ws as well gaining a position, finding a way through on M4's finest. And now Cooper West can try to hunt down OTM Racing. A 1:17.7 then for Murphy Thompson. As now they started to find a bit of clean air, he is able to match the pace of the leading two. Although, as I say that, Team King put in a 1:17.4. That is the fastest lap we have seen today, including practice. The sun is starting to come out, which will be warming up the track. And here is Team King having a look. Can't quite get the drive to pull alongside House of Go-Karting. Can they send it up the inside into turn 10? Decide against it, slotting in behind for now. A good opening stint this for Team King, considering it is their adult out on circuit. But House of Go-Karting doing a good job to keep Team King behind for now. We do have a slight battle as well for 5th place between and in first place and OTM Racing. The 27 and the number 5. As they cross the line, it is still and in first place ahead of OTM Racing. Just a few tenths separating the duo. A 1:17.3 for Murphy Thompson, absolutely flying with the new fastest lap of the race for fast and slow racing. It is definitely fast for them at the moment. They have taken out 2 seconds from the Wilcox and are now just 3 seconds behind in this battle for P3. The 8Ws in Cooper West onto the back of M4's finest, just a couple of tenths between the pair of them. Still mid to high 17s for House of Go-Karting and Team King, as they head through the final corner to start a new lap. And you can see heading into turn 10 is the Wilcox, hunted down by Murphy Thompson in that blue suit with the white and blue helmet. Oh, a bit of a lock-up, and very wide goes OTM Racing. They have a little contact with the tyre barriers on the exit of turn 10. I think they got caught out by how harshly Fast and Slow were able to, sorry, not Fast and Slow, how harshly and in first place were able to brake into that corner. Had to go off the brakes to avoid contact and then jam on the brakes themselves. A 1:17.6 for Fast and Slow Racing, matching the time of the leading two. The issue is, currently, Murphy Thompson is 15.5 seconds back, still taking over a second a lap out of the Wilcox, and will be on the back of third place at the end of this lap, presumably. As House of Go-Karting have probably the biggest lead they've had all race over Team King, looking at nearly a second heading into turn 10. And here are the Wilcox and Fast and Slow on the back straight, heading into that long left-hander of turn number 9. Murphy Thompson really closes in on the brakes through turn 10. He'll get better drive and will go up the inside into the final corner. So Murphy Thompson now up into third place. So good recovery drive for Fast and Slow. Back up into third place and another good lap on 1:17.6. Here is Cooper West, having recently got past Slater Racing. Now needs to catch up 4 seconds to and in first place, who are in 6th at the moment. Just a couple of seconds shy of OTM Racing. But Cooper West can see his target on circuit. 7 tenths between your leading two, and Team King have definitely closed in onto House of Go-Karting on this lap. Last time round, House of Go-Karting with a 1:17.3. Almost the new fastest lap of the race, but just a few hundredths shy of what Murphy Thompson was able to do. Through the final corner they come, and this looks to be a very quick lap for Team King. Let's see what it is. A 1:17.2, new fast lap of the race then for Team King. And I tell you what, this has been a very impressive lap for the Wilcox. They've been able to relatively stick with Murphy Thompson for Fast and Slow Racing. And we'll see what the lap time is. It's a new personal best for the Wilcox, their first time into the 118s. A 1:18.8, Murphy Thompson a 1:17.8. Here comes Cooper West over the line. I tell you what, he's dragging Slater Racing along with him. Cooper West sets his new personal best of the race, a 1:19.3, but Slater Racing a 1:19.1, closing back in, and Cooper West is not driving away with the 7th place for the 8Ws. They were able to take a second out of P6, and the gap is now 3 seconds in that battle for 6th place. 12 minutes done, which means we're about 18 minutes away from seeing potentially that first pit stop of the day. Or maybe a little bit less, 90 minutes, 3 mandatory stops. So you're probably looking at about 20 to 25 minutes for the first stop. Here goes Murphy Thompson over the line once more. That's 77.77. That's a very nice number. The Wilcox into the 1:19.4s. They've kind of lost contact with Murphy Thompson. And once you do that, you stop to gain that little bit of extra time that you were otherwise finding. Cooper West coming over the line then for the 8Ws, a 119.6, taking a few more tenths out of then in first place. Slater Racing with a 119.6, just tagging along with Cooper for now, and letting the 8Ws pull Slater Racing up to this battle for 6th place. .57 seconds separating the entire field. So there are the Walker boys with their green helmet heading into the hairpin of turn 4. Only 3 seconds down on Hold My Beer. This ain't my first rodeo. So over the line come How's It Go Karting. A 117.6 Team King with a 117.9, and the gap is over a second for, I believe, the first time this race. Let's see what Murphy Thompson for Fast and Slow can do. A 117.6, so gaining a couple of tenths on Team King that time round, but still 16.3 seconds off the race leaders. A new personal best for the Wilcox of a 118.863. As over the line come OTM Racing with their green and black helmet, shortly followed by, and in first place, the pair of them doing high 119s. There's a high 119 as well for Cooper West and the 8Ws. Team Clark are right on the back of Manny Racing, and that's them heading through the chicane. Bit of contact, I think, on the exit of turn 4. So Manny Racing with the red and grey Daytona suit, and Team Clark with the full grey Daytona suit, and then the multicoloured helmet. And that looks to be Ellis Owens getting ready to take over for Hold My Beer. This ain't my first rodeo. Looking to take over from Ryan Ambury. As here is Cooper West going up the inside into the final corner. Or is that him defending? As into the pits comes, I believe, Slater Racing. So 2 pit stops on this lap. No fueling will be done. So OTM Racing first into the pits. And Ryan Ambury is into the pit lane. As I think that's Slater Racing who have also pitted. So both OTM and Slater Racing making their first pit stop of 3 in this race. And Hold My Beer, this ain't my first rodeo, making their first pit stop. Ellis Owens will be jumping into the cart. As I think that is also Team King into the pits. So James King out and Rory James King in. Very impressive first stint for James King. So 4 pit stops made so far. House of Go Karting now leading, 16 seconds clear of Fast and Slow Racing. The pair of them lapping in the high 117s. And I think that is Louis Bishop getting ready to take over for Manny Bishop. So a pit stop done then for Walker Boys, which is Jake, Ethan and James Walker. As that, I think, is Team Manny into the pit lane. Louis Bishop getting ready to jump in and put in the stint of his life. Let's see how quick this stop is for Manny Racing, and more importantly for Louis Bishop, where he comes out relative to the likes of Team King. Louis Bishop getting very impatient. Quick, Dad, hurry up, get out of the car. Needs the pedals brought a little bit closer to him. And then he'll be ready to get going. And this is what we mentioned. Having to change those pedal positions can cost you about 5 or so seconds. And Manny Racing is going to come out behind the likes of Cooper West for the 8Ws. And out of the pits they will go. And just ahead of Ellis Owens as well. So that should be a fun battle between Louis and Ellis. They battled against each other many times before. The sun is definitely shining now here at Daytona Milton Keynes. Still House of Go-Karting leading, with Murphy Thompson for Fast and Slow Racing in second. Then come the Wilcox and in first place. Still waiting for a few more pit stops. The top 7 still all need to pit, if my calculations are correct, which is House of Go-Karting, Fast and Slow, the Wilcox, and in first place, the 8Ws, M4's Finest, and Team Clark. Tell you what, the 8Ws coming under a little bit of pressure as Cooper West crosses the line. I say that, but the 8Ws have just overtaken and in first place. And M4's Finest just behind that duo of karts, with half a second separating the three when they came across the line. And going up the inside is and in first place, and Cooper West ends up losing both positions. M4's Finest will follow through as they head into the carousel. Cooper West diving back up the inside into turn 6. Can't make the move stick though. And I think this is costing the 8Ws just a little bit of time. This is the battle for P4 currently. After pit stops are done, it's probably going to be the battle for P6, I want to say. But I could be wrong. A few more drivers getting ready for their team's pit stops. A 1:18.0 for House of Go-Karting. Murphy Thompson for Fast and Slow Racing. A 1:17.0. He is bringing down the gap, taking his second last time out of House of Go-Karting. And I was wondering, now that House of Go-Karting have, not House of Go-Karting, now that Team King have pitted and they're no longer pushing House of Go-Karting along, will they start to lose a little bit of time? And that is, I think, what has happened. So the gap is down to just 14 seconds now. As into the pits comes M4's Finest. 2 pit stops being done, actually. And I think that was the Wilcox pitting just in front. So the Wilcox making their first pit stop of the day, pitting from 3rd place. And that will promote the 8Ws and Cooper West into 3rd position. Another 1:17.8 for House of Go-Karting, lapping in those high 1:17s. And actually, Murphy Thompson, last time round, that was the fastest lap of the race, a 1:17.0. So Murphy Thompson is absolutely unleashed Is he coming into the pits this time round? He is indeed. So Murphy Thompson puts in the fast lap of the race and then said, you know what? My job's done. Coming into the pits. So Rob Thompson is going to be taking over then for Murphy. Murphy quickly jumps out, pulls out his seat insert, and Rob will jump on in. Pedals changed very quickly. Very slick stop, considering there was a pedal change as well. And a cracking drive for Murphy Thompson, making up for that incident on the opening lap. Out of the pits then comes Rob Thompson. And he is almost being lapped now by House of Go-Karting, who do still need to make that pit stop, may I add. So 4 teams left to pit. House of Go-Karting, the 8Ws, and in first place, and Team Clark. Fast and Slow, which is Robin Murphy Thompson, are effectively in second place. Here is Cooper West making his way down into the long left-hander of turn 9. The 8Ws ahead of and in first place, and Team Clark. And there is Louis Bishop right behind. Look at Louis Bishop go. Great run coming out of turn 10. I thought he was going to stuff it up the inside of the final corner. Decides against it. This is Manny Racing, who are currently down in P11. They have made a pit stop. But with Louis Bishop at the wheel, looking to fly up the field, sends it up the inside into turn 4 and unlaps himself against, I believe that is, who is that? And in first place, if I'm not mistaken. We have another pit stop, which is, I believe, Team Clark. Is that the 20 or is that the 27? I'm sure we'll find out eventually. Team Clark actually have just put in their fast lap of the race, a 1:19.1. Although they are dropping down the order, so I'm guessing that is Team Clark who are making that pit stop in kart number 20. So now just waiting for, and in first place, the 8Ws and House of Go-Karting to make their eventual pit stops. Louis Bishop. Oh, he's spun it. He's lost the rear end. And that is exactly what Louis Bishop could not do towards the start of this stint. And that has cost him about 7 or so seconds. And that's the thing with endurance racing. You have to be fast, you have to be consistent, and you can't make these mistakes. And Louis Bishop is going to be kicking himself for that one. As over the line comes House of Go-Karting. Another 1:18 then for House of Go-Karting. They are in clean air, but they aren't able to lap in those 1:17s like they were earlier on. Fast and Slow Racing are currently lapping in the mid 1:21s. So House of Go-Karting are gaining time. What about Team Clark? Team Clark have just pitted. Team King lapping in the mid-24s right now. So House of Go-Karting are the quickest drivers out on circuit at this present point in time. As House of Go-Karting are into the pit lane from the lead of the race. One has to go out, and the other will go in, although there's a slight issue with the GoPro, it seems. As we get our second pit stop for the Walker boys. So 2 of 3 pit stops done, and a driver change as well. Now let's see where How's It Go Racing or How's It Go Karting come out relative to the rest of the field. They are only 8 seconds ahead of the 8Ws, which is Cooper West and Brian West. Now Cooper West is yet to pit. And the 8Ws are the only team left to pit, along with, and in first place, who have just made their pit stop now. So, How's It Go Karting, 30 seconds ahead of Fast and Slow Racing. Remember, that gap was about 13 seconds before Murphy Thompson made his pit stop. So, How's It Go Karting gaining a lot of time in the process. And in first place, make their pit stop. A very quick pit stop for the number 27 kart. I see Ellis Owens crossing the line for Hold My Beer. Currently in P10. Louis Bishop putting in some quick times for Manny Racing. Was lapping in the high 118s last time around, a 121 as he tries to close in onto Team Clark. Slater Racing, though, might be one of the quickest drivers out on circuit right now as Cooper West is into the pit lane. And Brian West will be jumping in. We are over 30 minutes into the race now. So How's It Go Karting last time round, a 123.7, Fast and Slow, just gained 3 seconds on them. So Rob Thompson putting in a shift right now. OTM Racing also having a very good stint. I think that's Omar Matthew or Trevor Matthew. Well, it's one of the two, has to be. Slater Racing, though, quicker than all of the top 3, lapping in the 119s. As are the Wilcox, 119.4 last time round. How's It Go Karting have started to pick up the pace, a 121.6 last time round, gaining half a second to Fast and Slow Racing. And the gap is hovering around those 29 seconds. Attention paddock, attention paddock. Just to remind everyone that we are not using any radio comms on your helmets for this event, so please do not attach any radio sets to your helmets. Thank you. I think the 8Ws have just made another pit stop. So the 8Ws making their second pit stop and getting that pit stop out of the way as early as possible. They'll then have their third pit stop a little bit later. But they have just exited the pit lane. As we got a spinner at turn 4, House of Go-Karting, putting in a 1:19 last time round and gaining 6 seconds to Fast and Slow Racing, the gap up to 35 seconds. And now OTM Racing are closing in on the 21 kart. From second all the way down to 6th, they're separated by around 14 seconds. As here is Louis Bishop for Manny Racing coming into the pit lane to serve his black flag for an advantage by contact, an ABC, between turn 6s and 7, if I'm not mistaken. Now, where is Rob Thompson? Is that him coming across the line now? There goes Rob Thompson over the line. 4 seconds ahead of OTM Racing. OTM Racing with the white helmet and the grey overalls. And then we've got this cracking battle between and in first place and Slater Racing for P4, the 27 and the number 6, as they head through the chicane. Turns 2 and 3. Now, I think the Wilcox have had a very slow lap. They have indeed. They've lost about 10 seconds. Otherwise, they were right on the back of Slater Racing. So now a minute down on House of Go-Karting, who will be crossing the line any moment now. There is House of Go-Karting, the red suit and the yellow and green and black Zappa helmet. A 1:19.0 last time round. Here is Rob Thompson with the green helmet, making his way into the final corner, and then just behind is OTM Racing. Another 1:21 for Rob Thompson, and the gap between the leading two now at 38 seconds. And in first place, not having the best of laps last time around. Actually, their lap is fine. I think Slater Racing have had a very slow lap. They're actually into the pit lane. Is the number 6 kart. So Slater Racing making their second pit stop of the day now. A warm welcome to anyone tuning in on the YouTube channel. Hope you're having a wonderful bank holiday Monday. Louis Bishop heads through turn 10 for Manny Racing. Currently down in P13 at the back of the field after their black flag. And Louis Bishop has a lot of work to do. A 1:19.5 for and in first place. Their new quickest lap of the race. Taking 2 seconds out of OTM. The Wilcox also in the 1:19s, but they are a further 12 seconds back. And what has happened to Team King? They've dropped right down the order. Is that them into the pit lane? It might very well be. It is indeed, because James King is getting ready to jump back on into the kart and take over for Rory James King. OTM Racing also into the pits from 4th place. Or was it 3rd? Either way. And I believe OTM Racing with the speeding in the pit lane penalty. So they will have a drive-through to serve. Which is good news for Fast and Slow Racing and in 1st place, which can help them cement their 2nd and 3rd place spots. New personal best for and in 1st place of 1:19.0, taking nearly 3 seconds out of Fast and Slow on that previous lap. As we have a few more pit stops being made, another driver entering into pit lane. So that looks to be Slater Racing making their pit stop, the number 6 kart. And that is their final pit stop of the day as well, if I'm not mistaken. So Slater Racing should be good to go to the end, if my calculations are correct. Ellis Owens is absolutely flying right now, a 1:19.7 up into 5th place. And gaining time on the Wilcox up ahead. And there is actually Ellis Owens. He's right on the back of House of Go-Karting, a lap down. They've both made one pit stop, but Ellis Owens is trying to unlap himself right now. It's taken him a few minutes, 10 or 15 minutes, to really get into a rhythm. But now that he has got that rhythm, he's lapping very quickly indeed. As Louis Bishop is into the pit lane. And OTM Racing are serving their drive-through. So Nigel Bishop going to jump back into the kart, and Louis Bishop does not look too happy. As we have another driver into the pit lane. I think that's either Team Clark or the Wilcox. I think that might be Nia Wilcock into the pit lane. And is that a case of speeding into the pit lane because the marshals are telling her something? And it is indeed the Wilcox who have now made their 2nd pit stop of the race. Remember, 3 pit stops need to be made. And Ellis Owens is still right on the tail of the race leaders, House of Go-Karting. The pair of them somewhat working together. And in first place is also closing in onto Fast and Slow in the battle for second. As into the pits comes James King. And this is going to be the final pit stop for Team King. So a dummy pit stop, and James King is going to go to the end of the race for the final 46 minutes. A quick run around the kart. Jumps right back in, and out he goes once more. As into the pits come two more. I think that is the kart 20 and kart number 9. M4's Finest and Team Clark. And Ellis Owens is now in front of House of Go-Karting. And now House of Go-Karting are trying to push Ellis Owens along. Hold My Beer currently running in P4 after a very good stint from young Ellis. And now that Ellis Owens has some clean air, can start to put in some slightly quicker lap times, you would assume. All of the leading four currently lapping in the 120s. Ellis Owens lapping in the low 120s. Fastest drivers out on circuit is probably actually OTM Racing, a 119.1 last time round. Slater Racing also with a 119.9. But OTM Racing losing a lot due to their speeding in the pit lane black flag that they earned. Team King down to P10, but they have made actually 2 extra pit stops over House of Go-Karting. And, well, 1 extra pit stop than a lot of the other karts in front of them. So Team King and Slater Racing, the only 2 teams to have completed all 3 pit stops. And Team King currently behind Slater Racing. So Slater Racing have had a very good second stint to jump ahead of Team King. As House of Go-Karting are back in front of Ellis Owens and Hold My Beer. So those two are having a little scrap. Now this is an endurance race, so it is better to try to work together, but both of them think that they are the quicker driver and want to be the one leading this duo of karts along. Last time round, House of Go-Karting a 119.6, Ellis Owens another 120.2. So that time round, House of Go-Karting really started to find a bit more pace. Ellis Owens has got a good run. He's now on the outside heading into turn 5. But just a reminder, this is karting. We don't do blue flags over here. So this, if you want to have a scrap with someone, it doesn't matter if they're lapping you or not. You go for that move. And Ellis Owens has once again got past House of Go-Karting. And unlapped himself once more as they head through turn 7 and down the hill towards the hairpin of turn 8. The Wilcox, a 118.872, nearly their new personal best of the race. They're currently running in P5. And they have 1 more pit stop to go. I do believe it is Nia Wilcox. She was in the kart before, but I can't remember. I think they didn't make a driver change, so it should be Ben Wilcox, who is now at the wheel of the kart. As here is Ellis Owens, just in front of one of the House of Go youngsters. As they head out of the final corner. And if whoever's at the wheel of the House of Go-Karting kart just pushed Ellis Owens along, they'd both end up going a fair bit quicker. But as it is, they keep battling with each other and they keep costing both of themselves a little bit of time. And Ellis Owens will be hoping that now he's in front, he can pull away, as I do think he's the quicker of the 2. He was able to catch up to House of Go and get past on 2 separate occasions. A 119.2 for and in first place. They're currently running in 3rd. We'll see what their lap time is next time around. And then we can have a gauge at the distance between 1st and 2nd and 3rd. It should be hovering somewhere between 40 to 50 seconds. 42 seconds as Fast and Slow cross the line. And 46 seconds is the gap to third. Hold My Beer currently running in P4. And here they are on the back straight. Ellis Owens having to go defensive to stop House of Go-Karting from getting ahead. And as a result, costing the pair of them, they could just be bump drafting all the way down that back straight, all the way on the start-finish straight as well. But Ellis clearly isn't comfortable that House of Go-Karting won't go for a move. Hand up for House of Go-Karting. They're coming into the pit lane, and so is Ellis Owens. So the pair of them pitting at the same time. So we can directly compare the pit stops of the two teams. And for House of Go-Karting, this is their second pit stop of the race. And for Ellis Owens, this is going to be the final pit stop. And actually, so a bit of drama for both House of Go-Karting and Hold My Beer, speeding into the pit lane penalties. Too fast in, and that is bad news for the pair of them. And especially as well, considering that House of Go-Karting were your race leaders. So this is really going to spice up the race, because House of Go-Karting, all of that lead that they were able to make, those 49 or so seconds down the drain, one speeding into the pit lane offence, and that means, and in first place, may very well be in first place, which means I can't continue with my running gag. As Fast and Slow currently leading this race, which is Rob Thompson at the wheel of the kart. I believe they have made 2 pit stops, but I'm not 100% sure. Murphy Thompson started, Rob Thompson took over. I think Rob Thompson made a dummy stop, and Murphy Thompson will be doing the final stop of the race, or will be taking over. 5 seconds then between your leading two. House of Go-Karting a further 6 seconds behind, having made their second stop of the race. But House of Go-Karting are going to have to come straight back in. So, you know what? I think Fast and Slow have not made their second stop yet. So, into the pits then comes House of Go for their black flag. As we have another driver into the pits. And that is kart number 10. The 8Ws in for their final pit stop of the day. And that's Brian West. As Steve Owens is getting ready to take over for Ellis Owens, but Ellis is going to have to serve a black flag first, I think, for that pit lane speeding offence. And absolute disaster for Hold My Beer. They've had to make 3 pit stops in, well, effectively 3 laps, instead of making just a single pit stop. And that's going to cost them about a lap in total, I think. As Cooper West is back in the kart for the 8Ws, who have just made their final stop. Ellis Owens has now served his black flag, and then a driver change to be made on the next lap. Still leading though, Fast and Slow Racing. Now just under a second ahead of and in first place. And here is the battle coming over the line then. Fast and Slow and in first place, nose to tail. Rob Thompson just passed then by and in first place. Trying to fight back though is Rob Thompson on the outside for turn 4. So a change for the lead of the race. And in first place, finally up to first place, living up to their namesake. As we have Cooper West for the 8Ws into the pit lane for speeding into the pits. So the 8Ws were running in about P9 or P10. And this is going to drop them right down the order. So the 8Ws in Cooper West now exiting the sin bin. .3 seconds between your leading two. The Wilcox up into third place. They're lapping really quickly. A 1:18.7 last time around. And that looks to be Murphy Thompson getting ready to jump back into the kart for Fast and Slow Racing. So Cooper West going to the end of the race from here. 33 minutes remaining. We're 2/3 of the way through the race. And I think House of Go-Karting are getting ready to make another driver change as well. As into the pits comes Fast and Slow. I'm going to be honest, Rob Thompson, pretty rapid out there. Second pit stop of the day then being made. Murphy Thompson will jump back into the kart. And Murphy Thompson did do the opening stint, was arguably the quickest driver out on circuit as well. Needs the pedals very quickly adjusted. And then he can make his way out of the pit lane. And in first place, leading this race, Tom and Ronnie Smith. One of our karts are into the pits. Not entirely sure who that is. I think that is Team Clark for their final pit stop of the day, which is Richard Teresa and Guillermo Clark. So still and in first place, leading this race, Fast and Slow. I've just made that pit stop. Just over a minute separating the top two. The Wilcox, 1 minute and 11 seconds behind your race leaders. All of your top three have made 2 pit stops now, if I'm not mistaken. Except for and in first place, they have another stop to do. Speaking of and in first place, they are into the pits. And bad news then for 27. They were in first place. They still are in first place. But they have sped into the pit lane. And we have had a whole barrage of speeding into the pit lane offences today. You won't win the race by coming into the pits quicker. You can lose it though. And this has been good news then for Fast and Slow Racing. Maybe that's what Fast and Slow means. Fast on the track, slow in the pit lane. I never thought about it like that. As House to Go are making their final pit stop of the day. They've served that black flag before for, again, speeding into the pits. And now it is whoever started that race for House to Go karting back into the kart. Don't speed out of the pit lane. And out goes House to Go karting. No more pit stops to be made and a straight sprint to the end for them. 28 minutes to go. They're currently down in P8, but they do have a pit stop advantage. And in first place over their pit stop, they only actually dropped about 40 seconds, but they're going to lose another 30 or so, or maybe another 40 seconds, once they serve that black flag. And that's going to promote Fast and Slow Racing Murphy Thompson to the front, which is something that I don't think Fast and Slow would have really been thinking would happen after the disaster on the opening lap that saw Murphy Thompson drop all the way down to the back of the field. He put in a cracking opening stint after that point, and Rob Thompson, he held it together in the second stint, gained a few more places. Attention paddock, please do not sit on the pit lane barrier. So do not sit on the railing between the pit lane and the circuit. Thank you. Here is Cooper West and the 8Ws coming in through turn 9, currently down in P12. They have had a horrid time with black flags, some speeding in the pit lanes and a couple of incidents out on circuit. And right behind Cooper West is James King. Remember, Cooper West qualified in 4th place Team King currently up in 7th place. They have made their 3 pit stops. As that is and in first place into the pit lane to serve their black flag. And they still have a pit stop to go as well after this. So 6.5 seconds now at the front of the field between Murphy Thompson and the Wilcox. Which is Ben Wilcock at the wheel of the kart. House of Go-Karting. A little bit further down the field. The House of Go-Karting have now made all of their pit stops. So Murphy Thompson for Fast and Slow Racing, 1:17.8. It's the first time we've seen a 17 in a while. House of Go-Karting also back into the 17s. Remember, it was House of Go-Karting and Murphy Thompson as well as James King, who were all lapping in the 1:17s earlier on today. 1:17.7 for Murphy Thompson. House of Go-Karting, a 1:17.9. Here is House of Go-Karting coming through turn 9. Murphy Thompson exiting turn 5, leading the race for Fast and Slow Racing, but has one more pit stop to go. And I think right now, Fast and Slow Racing are on for winning this race. As Cooper West trying to make his way through a couple of karts that are line astern, heading into the final corner, and Cooper West finds his way completely blocked, looks for the switchback on the exit of the final corner, will be able to gain one position up ahead. James King starting to stretch away from this gaggle of karts. 1:20.7 last time around. 23 minutes remaining of our 90-minute endurance race. So see Louis Bishop getting himself ready once more to take over for Manny Racing. We're currently down in P10. Another 1:17 for Murphy Thompson. House Go-Karting with a 1:17.7. Okay, thanks. So, a quick reminder to the paddock that all teams have to do 3 mandatory pit stops. That does not include any black flags that you have received. So, if you have not made your 3 driver stops, either changing drivers or doing a dummy driver stop, please make sure you make it, as you only have 20 minutes left in the race. Louis Bishop back into the car for Manny Racing as they make their final pit stop of the day. And Louis Bishop will come out just ahead of Murphy Thompson, who has just put in a 1:17.3 and is now 9.7 seconds clear of the Wilcox. Here comes House of Go-Karting over the line, 1:18.1 on the last lap. This time round, a 1:17.5, so again, still seeing 17s from House of Go-Karting and Fast and Slow. As into the pit lane come one of our karts. And this is and in first place, who are making their final pit stop of the day. Again, how different it could be if they didn't pick up that speeding in the pit lane offence. And out of the pits they will go. So here's House to Go Karting. Looking to make a move. I believe that is on M4's finest. It is indeed, and up to 7th place go House to Go Karting. Next up for them is and in first place, who did just make that pit stop, so are about 15 or so seconds up the road. "19 minutes remaining in the race. Here is House to Go Karting, making their way through turn 10. Being stretched out a nice little gap to M4's finest. "12 seconds is the gap at the front of the field. As Cooper West gaining a couple of positions. As who is that into the pits? I think that's Slater Racing. Might be OTM actually. That is indeed the number 5 of OTM Racing, who have a black flag for an advantage by contact. So OTM Racing will drop down the field. As into the pits comes Murphy Thompson. For Fast and Slow, this is going to be the final stop, and a dummy stop as well. Quick run around the kart. As I think the Wilcox into the pit lane as well. So Ben Wilcock out and Nia Wilcock in. As out of the pit lane goes Hold My Beer with Steve Owens at the wheel. And that is the final pit stop for Hold My Beer. This ain't my first rodeo. And this has all meant that Team King are now leading by a very, very small margin over Murphy Thompson. So both Team King and Murphy Thompson have made the same number of pit stops, and they are separated by 1 second in a 16-minute drag race to the end. That is absolutely what you want to see to bring this race to a close. See if we can catch exactly where they are. Slater Racing are a further 9 seconds back. They've also made their 3 pit stops as well. There is James King, there is Murphy Thompson, and there is Slater Racing with the black and green helmet. So your top 3 are somehow only separated by 2 seconds after all 3 mandatory stops have been made. Race on. We know Murphy Thompson was possibly the quickest driver on circuit in that opening stint. He was a little bit quicker than King Racing and House to Go Karting. Pardon me, Slater Racing actually are 13 seconds down on these 2. Then it is the Wilcox, 25 seconds off the leading 2, followed by and in first place in House to Go Karting. And House to Go Karting will be absolutely kicking themselves for that drive-through penalty. If it wasn't for that, they would still be right in this battle for the race win. And we would actually have, well, the top 3 at the end of the opening stint still top 3. As OTM Racing make their pit stop. And that is their final pit stop of the day. And there goes Murphy Thompson round the outside. He's made the move work. James King does not look too happy. Murphy Thompson could not care less. He has taken the lead with 15 minutes to go. And now we'll just be getting his head down and trying to check out, can James King, now that he has Murphy Thompson in front of him, can he stick to the rear end of that Sodi and just tag along for the remainder of the race and maybe hope for a mistake, or maybe apply enough pressure that Murphy Thompson does make that mistake. But with the exception of whatever happened on the opening lap with Murphy Thompson, he has driven an absolutely flawless race. Fast and Slow have driven an absolutely fantastic race. Here is House to Go Karting heading into turn 9. And I think this is on the back of and in first place. They're going to try to go up the inside into the final corner. Decide against it, slot in behind. And the inside is covered off. This is a battle for P5. And in first place do not want to let this one go without a fight. House to Go Karting get a good run out of turn 4. They're on the outside now heading into turn 5. They're going to have to look for yet another switchback. And that is exactly what they will do. Right up onto the curb and corner exit. And just trying to get the drag into the carousel. Have to back out of the move meanwhile. Murphy Thompson crosses the line for Fast and Slow. And the gap to King Racing, or Team King I should say, has increased and is over a second between your leading 2. Fast and Slow lapping in the mid 117s. Team King in the low 118s. House to Go Karting, I think the best that they can realistically aim for without any penalties is a P3. They are closing in onto Slater Racing in 3rd overall. And they're catching hand over fist onto the Wilcox and in first place. They just need to be able to make the overtake. There goes House to Go Karting, finally ahead of and in first place and up into 5th. They're currently 14 seconds behind the Wilcox, but they are nearly 40 seconds behind Slater Racing. And with only 12 minutes to go, that's about 10 laps. I think maybe the most that they can hope for is a P4. It's a P4 right now. Slater Racing have kept it clean, and they have kept it consistent. And that is Mark, Matthew, and Anthony Slater putting in a very good example of an endurance race, a consistent endurance race. And while they haven't had the raw pace over the likes of House to Go Karting or even and in first place, OTM, by keeping themselves out of trouble, they have, or they may have just secured themselves a top 3 finish. 1.5 seconds between your leading two. A 1:17.2 for Fast and Slow, a 1:17.6 for Team King. James King has started to find that little bit of extra pace, but not enough to catch up to Murphy Thompson, just to reduce how much time he is losing to the race leader. House of Go-Karting, 1:17.6. They take 1.4 seconds out of the Wilcox last time around, but they are still 22 seconds behind. And they need to find a bit more pace. Again, 54 seconds. If it wasn't for that drive-through penalty, they would be in this battle for the race win without a shadow of a doubt. And they would be somewhere in the top three, maybe even 5 or so seconds ahead of the race leaders. Another 1:17.2 for Murphy Thompson. James King putting in a 1:18.0. The gap is now 2.3 seconds. Here is House of Go-Karting heading into turn 10. He really needs the Wilcox to be lapping in the 120s, and that's exactly what's happened. A 1:21.0 for the Wilcox, and that's going to allow House of Go-Karting to gain by, well, nearly 4 seconds. If they can put it in another 1:17 and a low 1:17 at that. Across the line, it's a 1:17.4 for House of Go-Karting. It's nearly their personal best of the race. 19 seconds is their deficit. 9 minutes remaining. So they need to be gaining by about 3 seconds a lap. And that is what they have done on that last occasion. But can they consistently do it? Is the main question. Again, the Wilcox, another example of a team that have put in a very, very consistent 90 minutes of racing, as that's contact. And one of the drivers is coming to a stop to allow them to overtake them, but the driver's not going. He's staying stopped there. He could just go and turn to the right, but he's waited a bit too long. Means another cart has come, and whoever was at fault for that incident has eventually said, I'm not waiting anymore, which might at the same time mean that they get a black flag for that. Now, was that the Wilcox, is the question. No, it was Slater Racing. So Slater Racing were involved in that incident from P3, and we were just praising them for how they had kept the entire race clean, how they hadn't made any mistakes at all, and now they've dropped down to P4. They're only 10 seconds ahead of House of Go-Karting, and all of a second, P3 is on the table for House of Go-Karting. They have just gained another 4 seconds on the Wilcox. They're 15 seconds behind with 8 minutes remaining in the race. This is going to be very, very tight indeed. Slater Racing are only 5 seconds behind the Wilcox. And if Slater Racing caused that incident, while they did stop, I'm interested to see what the stewards are going to say regarding that advantage by contact. I think it was the Walker boys who had the contact with Slater Racing. Here is House of Go-Karting. They have just been able to get past a back marker. Let's look at the lap times then, as everyone comes across the line. A 1:19.8 for the Wilcox, a 1:19.2 for Slater Racing. The pair of them have really picked up the pace. A 1:17.3 for House of Go-Karting. They take another 2 seconds out of the duo in front of them, but still, I don't think it's enough. 7 minutes left. That's about 5 or so laps, and they are about 10 seconds behind. Well, 8 seconds behind Slater Racing, 12 seconds behind the Wilcox. And right now, if you're a House of Go-Karting fan, you really want the Wilcox just to drop a bit of pace so that they battle with Slater Racing. And while they're battling, that can allow House of Go-Karting to catch up. I think House of Go-Karting have already had their miracle. That incident with Slater Racing, that is pretty much the one thing that they could have hoped for. And usually in endurance racing, as you come towards the end of the race, you only get that one thing that will fall your way. So across the line then comes the Wilcox and Slater Racing. A 1:19.6 for the Wilcox, really upping their pace. A 1:19.3 for Slater Racing. What about House of Go-Karting? They come across the line, a 1:17.6, so 2 more seconds gained on the Wilcox. They are now 10 seconds behind the Wilcox, and they are 6 seconds behind Slater Racing. 6 minutes remaining. Everyone has made their 3 pit stops. Fast and Slow Racing leading by 5 seconds over Team King. Murphy Thompson putting in an absolutely stellar drive. And James King can't do anything but watch Murphy just drive away with this one. Here comes the Wilcox and Slater Racing on the run down towards turn 9, and now we're going to be seeing House of Go-Karting showing up. So Slater Racing is the black helmet. Now it has just exited turn 10, and then ahead are the Wilcox. One of those 2 karts is the Wilcox. I'm not sure which. Looks like a good lap for the Wilcox, a 1:19.6. It's pretty much the best that they can do right now, and it is solid, consistent. A 1:19.0 for Slater Racing, and then comes House of Go-Karting with a 1:17.7. Another 2 seconds taken out of the Wilcox, and they are just 8 seconds behind the Wilcox in this battle for third place. Slater Racing now 3 seconds behind the Wilcox. 4.5 minutes remaining. This is going to be so tantalizingly close, but I think we just needed another 4 minutes or so for an absolutely cracking three-way battle for third place. And the Wilcox will be hoping that checkered flag comes as soon as possible. This race is getting so tense in the battle for third position. Here is the Wilcox and Slater Racing. The Wilcox just getting past one of the back markers, and there is Slater Racing. The battle for third. Look over the shoulder for the Wilcox. And you know, when you start looking over your shoulder, that's when the nerves start to kick in. That's when you start making mistakes. And there's House of Go-Karting. 3 karts separated by, that has to be less than 5 seconds. Let's take a look at the lap times as they come around the corner. It's a 1:20 for the Wilcox. That is not good news. A 1:18.439, new personal best for Slater Racing. House of Go-Karting, a 1:17.86 seconds, separating the trio of karts. Spinner at turn 10, just in front of Murphy Thompson. That will not be affecting him too much. He will be keeping his head firmly down. 3 minutes remaining. And I tell you what, Wilcox cannot get past his back marker, and Slater Racing are really closing in. They're right on the back of the Wilcox as they head through turn 7. Slater Racing are on an absolute mission. They want this podium, but House of Go-Karting are only a few seconds behind as the 4 karts head down towards the hairpin of turn 8. So we wait to see what the order is. Here comes Slater Racing. They're going past the back marker now as well. So it is a straight fight between the Wilcox and Slater Racing. They are separated by less than a second. House of Go-Karting wide into turn 10. That'll cost them a few tenths, but they can see their target up the road. Now the question is, how hard can the Wilcox defend? Niall Wilcox at the wheel of the number 22 kart. Across the line, a 1:19.9 for the Wilcox, a 1:19.3 for Slater Racing, and a 1:18.1 for House of Go-Karting. Their worst lap over the last 10-15 minutes by about half a second. And there is not long left in this race. Here comes Murphy Thompson around the final corner, and I think we might be onto the last lap of the race as well. Just under 2 minutes remaining in this race. And it is indeed the last lap of the race. So, in this battle for third place, they will have this lap and one more lap. as tense as you could possibly want it. Let's see how close the Wilcox, or how close Slater Racing have got to the back of the Wilcox. They should be coming up into turn 9 now. Here they are. There's House of Go-Karting just behind. And this is definitely going to go to the last lap of the race. Niall Wilcox then currently in third place ahead of Slater Racing. Remember, it was Slater Racing who were running in third until they had that incident down into turn 10. House of Go-Karting just a couple of kart lengths behind, and we well and truly have a three-way battle for third place. House of Go-Karting have been closing into this battle every single lap, 2-3 seconds a lap, and now they are within striking distance. Third place could go to literally anyone. However, Murphy Thompson for Fast and Slow Racing, he's making his way through the final corner. It was a torrid first lap for Fast and Slow Racing, but some excellent stints from Murphy and Rob Thompson. They take the checkered flag, and they will be winning the race. Meanwhile, Slater Racing is going up the inside of the Wilcox into the carousel, and House of Go-Karting are following them through. House of Go-Karting and Slater Racing are both up. Wilcox going defensive through turn 7. House of Go-Karting all the way on the outside as they head down the hill towards turn 8. So Slater Racing are up into third position, but can House of Go-Karting fight this one back? James King will take second place for Team King, but it is all eyes on this battle for third position. There is Slater Racing, and the Wilcox have held on to fourth over House of Go-Karting. They needed to make the move as quickly as possible, and they haven't done it. Slater Racing on the last lap of the race take third position from the Wilcox, and House of Go-Karting, the driver, is absolutely fuming, can't find any way through. A fantastic defensive drive from the Wilcox to keep House of Go-Karting at bay. But what a drive from Slater Racing, making up for that incident into turn 10. They take turn 3, and the Wilcox don't seem to be too happy. Slater Racing got past perfectly cleanly, and House of Go-Karting can only take P5 in the end. They needed just that 1-2 more laps. M4's Finest will take P6, and in first place will take P7 ahead of OTM Racing. Manny Racing, well, what a drive that is for Louis Bishop. They were all the way down in P13, but they clamber back up to P9 and just 2 laps off the race leader, despite picking up, I think, 2 black flags in that race. The 8Ws in P10 ahead of Walker Boys. Hold My Beer in P12 ahead of Team Clark, and that brings us to a close for our Battle of the Ages, and that was an absolute cracking battle. You don't often see an endurance race come down to the wire like that, and we were very, very lucky to be able to see that battle. Nerves of steel then for Slater Racing. After that mistake, you could see just how upset they were. They were caught facing the wrong direction. They couldn't get going for a while. They lost the position, but then they fought back. They earned it back. We talked about how Slater Racing was super, super consistent in that race. Then that mistake came through, and all of a sudden, they turned consistency into raw pace, and it was just enough pace to take third position. But with that, we are going to be signing out. Thank you to everyone who tuned in on YouTube, and a reminder as well to everyone here trackside, if you want to watch that race back, you can do it. It is on my Milky Serial YouTube channel under the title Daytona Milton Keynes Battle of the Ages. Thank you everyone for putting on a spectacular, spectacular race, and a spectacular performance as well for Murphy Thompson and the Fast and Slow Racing. We'll see everyone up in the pavilion for our driver presentations and some nice shiny trophies to go everyone's way.